I've recently started using a very powerful tool that I can use in combination with my make.com scenarios, which greatly expands the capabilities of these automations without having to get really deep into code and deployment. By the way, this is not a sponsored video. The service is called BuildShip, and they have a very generous free tier. We've been on the lookout for a tool like this for quite a while. While tools like make.com and N8N are no-code integration tools, BuildShip is a low-code integration tool. However, it has this AI function where it can generate nodes on the fly using AI, and it's quite good at doing that. It also has a bunch of templates that you can start with, such as this template to crawl a website, and you can click Add Node, and there are lots of pre-made integrations similar to what you would get from make.com. The biggest issue with no-code tools like make.com or N8N is that by removing all of the code, it really restricts the more advanced functionality. Whereas with tools like BuildShip, you can, for example, add new nodes and search for video, for example, and you can actually use advanced libraries like FFmpeg, which can do things like compress videos, combine them together, grab screenshots. And those are capabilities that you would just never really be able to do within the standard no-code tools. And this could save you a lot of money because then you do not need to use more expensive external services for those automations. I recently used BuildShip within our keyword research blueprint, which could save tens of thousands of make operations a month. I also used it within this error handling video where I needed an external service to reliably mock up some errors. But how does it work? Let's get started with a template. I'm going to use this template to crawl a website. It's one of the more basic use cases. And when you do that, you clone a template similar to a blueprint within make.com. And we have this input here of the website URL. It's already added in this scrape node, and then we'll just output the result of that into this. So how do we do that? We want to connect a trigger. I've set up a new project within make.com, and now I want to call this BuildShip project and just send it a URL to scrape a website, and it will then return the response back to make.com. So I will be making a request. But before I make this request, I need to ship the project within BuildShip. So when you're making a request, that's a REST API call. I'll click on that button. I'll click connect. So there is a bit of a learning curve to this, but just stay with me. It's expecting a website URL within the request body. So what we do is we go into make.com, we go to body type raw, content type of JSON. I think it wants JSON. And then we add in a request website URL equals the AIautomators.com. So that should be valid JSON. If you're not really sure, then just get ChatGPT to generate that for you, or else go to something like a JSON validator online, click validate JSON, it looks good, parse the response, click yes, and click OK. Oh, we need a URL. So then click the ship button at the top right, and then we see this connect to triggers. We copy that out and then paste in the URL and press OK. So that should be ready to go. We'll press run once. We see a bad request, and why is that? It's because it's expecting a GET request instead of a POST request. I'm going to change this to POST, connect, ship changes, update, and I'll try again, run once. Looks like it's doing something now. Okay, we've got a response. So look at the data, and it's scraped a bunch of different pages, as all the contents and the URLs on each of them. So that's a lot of data that we just got back from BuildShip from one simple, very, very simple call based on a template that was already created. Like often you would need to use an external service like Appify to actually do this very quickly. So it's great to be able to set up these kinds of projects right away. I'm not saying this is the best web scraping tool by any means, but it just shows the power of a tool like this. There are also a bunch of other templates. For example, this chat with Google Sheets. When you go in, this will clone the template, and you actually have a full README of instructions for how to get that set up, along with these little post-its that show up here to tell you exactly what to do. But most of the time, you're going to want to start a scenario from scratch. So let's just do that very quickly. And let's say we're going to call this extract text from JSON. So let's say we have a pretty complex API like Data for SEO, which has this very large response if we're looking for a list of ranked keywords. No-code tools are notoriously bad at doing this, and it could take thousands and thousands of operations using iterators and aggregators to actually do this, and it's very clunky to do it. Whereas if you're using a tool like this, which uses code under the hood, then that can make it a lot easier. So let's give it a go. I'm going to click this magic wand icon, and I'm going to try and get it to extract the list of keywords from this really long JSON response. I have a JSON response in text format. pretty important that you say it's in text format because otherwise it might think it's already parsed. I want to parse the response and extract the list of keywords from within keyword data. Turn the list of keywords, comma, separated. And then let us copy and paste in a bunch of that code for context. Very, very important that we do that. Actually, parse the JSON text. We'll write that instead. Click generate with AI. So I know a lot of the instructions there were very developer-y, as in like I'm using developer language for sure. However, if you're doing stuff like parsing responses, you can just do what I did here. Now the node has been created, now we can click test and pass in that JSON response. I'm going to click test parse keywords from JSON response, 1 mile on treadmill time. So we have 1 mile on treadmill time and it worked. Like, so in this case, I've only actually responded with 2. So let's respond with more. I'll get this data for SEO API to respond with 100 keywords, and then we'll copy that entire lot in and see if that works now. So I'll copy the JSON at the bottom. I'll then test this one more time. I click test. I've copied in a much larger JSON response. I click this test parse keywords and the node is in progress. And there we go, we have the entire list. So in a very similar way, we could then set up a trigger similar to how we did it previously, pass in whatever data we want, and then get BuildShip to just parse all that data and send it all back. So in this case, you do not need to use an entire new system. You could just use this for the more complex parts and continue to use your no-code tool like Make.com or N8N to do the heavy lifting. Of course, you could also use a tool like Zero Code Kit, which is very good for very basic code. However, tools like BuildShip are far, far more capable because you can just do so much more with it. BuildShip also includes storage where you can store files. So if you're working with video or images that take up a lot of space, you could use this storage within the automation. And I believe this is based on Google Cloud. In terms of pricing, you have 3,000 credits, which is actually quite a lot. You can do an awful lot with that. I was constantly pinging these APIs when I was doing this break error handling testing, and I was doing it with more comprehensive video processing, and I did not use a lot of credits. I'm still on the free plan. So I think most people that are watching this will probably be able to stay on the free plan unless you want to have a lot of active workflows. While this is a great tool, it does have its drawbacks and its quirks. The biggest disadvantage of this is its lack of debugging features. So if you're a developer that's used to using an IDE and all of the debugging features such as adding breakpoints and being able to examine variables on these breakpoints, then you're probably going to be a little bit disappointed with the overall experience of BuildShip. But if you are using it for more isolated use cases like filling in the gap, like in this JSON scenario, or if you're using one of their built-in templates, or if you just kind of figure out the overall workflow and understand the overall process of how BuildShip works, then this could be a really powerful tool for you. And it will allow you to ship usable API endpoints that you can interact with, for example, through Make.com, without having to understand how to deploy things like cloud functions, which certainly have a high learning curve. I think this is a perfect tool for people that are comfortable with the more advanced features of no-code tools like Make.com, but you really want to fill the gap with more powerful tools to be able to do more powerful automations. So this is really just scratching the surface on BuildShip. There's lots that you can do with it. If you want to see more of BuildShip within our tutorials, then drop a comment below. And if you want to get way ahead in your automation journey, then check out the link in the description to our community. We'll get access to all of our automation templates, many of which are made through Make.com. You get access to all of our courses, as well as weekly events where you can ask us questions in real time. Thanks for watching.